right, everybody. Well, welcome to another episode of 30 with the team. Today we are joined by Carolyn Bergen. We brought you onto the panel for some of our a bit of a meatier conversation that we're going to have a little bit later in this show. But you're a therapist of 25 years. And how long have you been practicing in your current location?
I've had a private practice at Bergen and Associates Counseling on Pembina Highway for 15 years.
Yeah, and what would you say you primarily deal with?
Well, I work with people to help improve the connections in their lives and help remove the barriers that interfere with them relating more significantly in the connections that are so important to them.
That's great, and your expertise will definitely come in handy as we move forward. But hey, you may have some opinions on smoking on the patio as well, and that's, with dress codes. We'll get to smoking later.
She'll have many opinions.
Opinions on all that stuff too. But dress codes, there have been some things popping up recently across Canada and the U.S. as well. Ladies not showing a little bit too much skin. Have you guys been paying attention to this? Have you been shocked by it?
I kind of caught a few things, but I'm not really shocked by it because it just comes around, right?
Yeah.
This is one of those topics that we hear about every couple of years, that more and more and more skin gets shown. And I guess, like, really, do you guys remember this much skin ever being shown before? Am I feeling like an old man now? Is this like the young guys?
I don't know. I feel like the 90s were way worse. This is like the full crop top.
Yeah, and I saw some of the photos of like the risque shorts this girl got sent home with, and I was like, this looks like modern day society to me. Do I think that there could be dress codes? Yeah, honestly. Like I just think that schools maybe do need dress codes. It takes away one of those barriers of being able to really call someone out or
oh, this is like very conservative.
No, but really, I mean, it's just another thing that can separate students when, you know, why don't we judge people on the merit of like what they're saying or things like that.
From the school perspective and being the father of two boys.
Who show a lot? Do they wear a lot of short shorts?
No, we've never been too restrictive with their dress for sure, but, well, one child's now 21 and in university, so I think he was able to get through okay, but with my 14-year-old, you think about maybe distractions in the classroom, that type of thing, so I'm just thinking of it more from a parent's point of view. I think the whole, debate about how much skin to show and everything like that, I think that still speaks a lot to how young the North American continent is sometimes, because I think if we were in Europe, on a public beach or wherever, right, wouldn't be a big deal, right? So no one would really even blink. Of course, depending on the context.
Beach is like more in society, right? When you think about Australia, New Zealand, and actually all over Africa, schools of all kinds have a dress code and also we aren't looking specifically at girls as well. We can look at guys who have like offensive T-shirts and things. And how far is too far? Not only just skin, but I mean.
That's a good point.
And some of those pants are a little too low and baggy for my liking. I am sounding way old right now.
I think the problem for me is I respect dress codes. I think I teach maybe respect, or I see a place for dress codes in school, but I think the problem is the focus of why these women or girls were targeted was kind of because they were attracting the wrong attention. And who are we to tell girls to dress modestly? I think if you're going to have a dress code, you're going to have to implement it the same for girls and boys, and not focus on boys dressing tidy and girls dressing modestly. Because again, and one of the girls who was sent home from school posted something that she had found online, and it said, instead of shaming me for what I wear, let's teach boys that I'm not a sexual object, or something like that. Let's teach boys like that. I don't know. I see these girls felt that they were sent home because the school thought they were dressing not modestly enough, and I don't know. Kind of rubs me the wrong way.
What about you, Carolyn?
Well, I think there's a lot of pressure on teens with their peers to fit in, and so there's a lot of pressure to figure out what to wear so that other people will like you. And actually, I don't think teens would ever admit it, but if you talk to teens who have to wear a uniform to school, they're never going to admit it, but they like the uniform because then they have no choice. And the boundaries that the school places on them makes it very safe, that they don't have to sort of dress cool and there's not pressure to show more skin than they feel comfortable with. And so I think it's helpful when the external somebody else other than them says this is what you can and can't do, because it can provide some safety against some of that peer pressure.
It's a great equalizer, isn't it?
It is.
But going back to what Jessica said, really the root of it, isn't it, is just about you know, young men and their attitudes towards women, isn't it? And that's really the crux of it and what we have to get at, don't we?
Sure, I think that's something that has to be addressed, and we have to figure out what we do with teenagers who have raging hormones that they're still trying to figure out what to do with, right? They haven't had them for that long, and they're trying to wrap their head around what to do with what their body is feeling, and that requires a whole lot of education and discussion, and it's not easy for guys to have those conversations.
And that's the thing that I'm really a big fan of open, honest conversations, and I think that sometimes when you try to create a solution like a dress code, that you're not talking about those issues, so you kind of remove that from the table in a way, and I think that, you know, it's better to almost have a girl who is experiencing her own sexuality and wanting to experiment with it a bit, embrace that, but then have a discussion when somebody responds incorrectly. Whereas if you don't have that conversation in high school, then you get into university and suddenly you are dressing this way and no one's really had the conversation about how to respect people in a way. And that's just one part of it. The other thing is, when you get to be in your 30s, you miss the days when you could wear short shorts and crop tops, okay? And sometimes I look at those girls and I just think, you go girl, that's right. You've got it, you still got it, it's good.
There should have been a dress code in my high school in the 80s because, of course, you had to butter your legs and jump off the roof to get into your jeans at that time, right? That should never have happened.
But you had such smooth, soft skin.
I tell you.
Yeah, there were definitely some interesting things like popped up on Twitter, and you know, people using words as strong as saying, well, if you're going to, you know, dress like a prostitute and you should be sent home, and that's certainly not what I gathered from most of the cases. They were things like you're wearing a tank top and your bra strap was sticking out. That happens to me all the time, by the way.
I really do long for the day where we don't get so hung up on the human body. I really long for that, when we can just be mature about it, and that gets passed down to the younger generations, but obviously we're not there, not even close to it.
We're a long way from there. Yeah, the human body, I think so many women have issues about their body. I think guys do too. And it's a difficult thing when people are trying to figure out how their bodies work and what they feel comfortable and don't feel comfortable and feel ashamed of their body. I think this is a good discussion to be having.
Awesome. And you bring up young men, and I coach volleyball at the high school level, and yeah, it's become a real issue and something that we're definitely not talking about enough in that respect as well. Young guys really tentative before taking off a shirt or anything like that now.
That's interesting, and definitely there's lots more to talk about. We're going to take a quick break, and that same kind of heat that's causing us to shed some clothes is also setting us to the patio.